Hi, thanks for joining us for this Volo basketball ref training session. At Volo, our mission: create opportunities for a fulfilled life through genuine communities and access to activity. And our purpose: we play so kids play free. Today's agenda: we'll start by looking at rosters and gameplay, rules, and we'll wrap up by looking at some miscellaneous items and best practices. The goal for this training is that you, as a new referee, can leave feeling confident that you can referee a fun and safe basketball game in Volo. So let's start with rosters and gameplay. For basketball, scoring, any shot from behind the three-point arc is 3 points. Shots from inside the three-point arc are 2, and any foul shot is worth 1 point. Each team must have 5 players on the court. You need a minimum of 4 players to start a game, and for co-ed leagues, teams must have at least 1 man and 1 woman on the court at all times. A team can borrow players from another team in the league. However, there's a couple things to note. If you're borrowing players, the ref needs to be notified. And if a team already has 5 players, then any additional borrowed player must be approved by the opposing team captain. When borrowing, your roster must have at least 4 original team members for the game to count as well. Game duration. Games consist of 2 22-minute halves. There's a running time with no shot clock. The clock stops in the last minute of the first half and the last 2 minutes of the second half. Teams are allowed 3 30-second timeouts per game. However, a team loses a timeout for the second half if they don't use even one in the first. And you can only call a timeout when your team has possession of the ball. Games can end in a tie during the regular season. However, in the playoffs, if games are tied at the end of regulation, you go right to a 3-minute overtime. If it's tied at the end of overtime, teams go into a sudden death overtime period. And teams get 1 20-second timeout per overtime period. For substitutions, subs can only occur on dead ball situations, such as an out of bounds or a foul, and a substitute must be waved in by the referee to enter the game. One substitute from each team will be in charge of keeping score on flip scorecards. The referee should monitor the score and clearly signal if a basket was a 2 or a 3-point shot. Let's look at some of the rules. Refs will call the following defensive fouls: blocking, hacking, and holding. If these fouls occur during the act of shooting, it results in free throws. That's 2 foul shots if you're attempting a 2-pointer, or 3 if you're attempting a 3-pointer. Note that if the shot attempt is made, then the player will receive 1 foul shot. Players who are lined up during the foul shot need to wait until the ball is released by the shooter before entering the key. Also, refs call charging and offensive fouls, resulting in a change of possession. We have something called the bonus. After a team receives 7 fouls, they are in the bonus. Bonus means all non-shooting fouls result in a 1-and-1 penalty. After a team gets 10 fouls, they are in the double bonus. This means all non-shooting fouls result in 2 free throws. Technical fouls. These are given for things like excessive arguing with the ref, abusive language, or overly physical play. Technical fouls can result in 2 free throws and possession for the other team. 1 technical foul means a possible ejection at the ref's discretion. 2 means an automatic ejection and you're suspended for the next game. Also, the current game may be forfeited, possibly, at the ref's discretion. Flagrant fouls. That's a serious contact foul involving intentional unnecessary, and/or excessive contact. These result in 2 foul shots and possession going to the team that was fouled, and they can also result in ejections at the referee's discretion. Okay, I've mentioned ejections. So when does a foul result in an ejection? When does it cross that line? Both flagrants and technicals can result in ejections. It's up to the ref. And really, to keep in mind, this is what you want. When fouls are intentionally malicious, that is worthy of an ejection. That's how I like to think of it. So it's not just careless or clumsy or reckless. There is an intent to injure or there is intentional malice. That should be an ejection. Some violation descriptions. Traveling, that's taking 3 or more steps without dribbling the ball. Double dribble, that's when a player dribbles the ball with both hands at the same time, or they stop dribbling and then resume dribbling. And carrying or palming, that's when a player dribbles illegally by putting their hand below the ball and dribbling in a carrying motion. Some more for you. Goaltending on the defensive side, that's when a defensive player prevents the ball from going into the basket when the ball is on its downward trajectory, or if it's over the imaginary cylinder extending above the rim. Goaltending on the offensive side, that's when the offensive player touches the ball when it's on the rim or is over the imaginary cylinder extending above the rim. Backcourt violations. That's bringing the ball to your offensive side and then crossing back over into your defensive side. Blocking. This is a foul where you impede the progress of an opponent by extending one or both arms horizontally or getting in the path of a moving player without having your feet set. A charging foul. That is running into a stationary player while you are moving with the ball. A hacking foul. This is when a player hits the arm or hand of the person holding the ball. Holding. Player holds an opposing team's player with or without the ball. Loose ball violation. A hack, push, or hold committed while no player possesses the ball. In an offensive foul, this can be a push, moving screen, or a charge done by the team possessing the ball, the team on offense. All right, let's wrap up by looking at some miscellaneous items and some best practices to leave you with. Okay, blow your whistle. Be loud and proud. If you are timid with it, that messages to players you don't know what you're doing, you're uncertain, and you certainly don't want to present that. The whistle should be blown on every call, even on out-of-bounds calls where it seems very obvious. Be consistent. Don't ball watch. This is key. Don't just look at the person possessing the ball. There are 9 other players on the court, so be mindful, keep your head on a swivel, look at everybody. Call fouls in your area. You can call fouls out of your area, but be 100% certain if it's in front of your partner. And just keep in mind, you can see angles that your partner can't. Also, always get over the half-court line when you're the trail official. Make sure you're close enough to the sideline as a trail to not interfere with gameplay. You don't want to be getting in the way. Use a wristband for possession. Check for subs every dead ball. Use your whistle to notify the subs when they can enter. Make sure your partner is ready after a dead ball. And another one, if there's a tricky out of bounds call, try to read player body language. A lot of times that's a giveaway. Okay? All right, clarifying some confusing calls on back courts. 3 points, that's both feet, and the ball must cross the division line for a backcourt violation to be in effect. The sides and top of the backboard. The ball can hit the top, bottom, or side of the backboard and be in play. The ball is out of play when it goes over the backboard or hits supporting structures to the backboard. Hitting the back of the backboard is out of bounds. Sliding with the ball. If a player dives for a loose ball and their momentum makes them slide, that's legal. But any attempt to roll over with the ball at any point during or at the end of a slide That is a travel. On an air ball, if a player attempts a shot, and this is done at the ref's discretion, and then catches their own air ball, they can shoot or dribble after catching the ball for a legal move. Offensive fouls, player controls, these count as team fouls, but teams do not shoot if they occur in the bonus. All right, let's talk for a moment about forfeits. A forfeit is a win for the team with the full squad. A 10-minute buffer is given to teams that are late. Now, if you need to forfeit, you have to do the following not to be penalized. You email boston@volosports.com a minimum of 1 hour prior to the first game of the night in your league. Now, that's important. That doesn't mean email an hour before your team's game. You need to email an hour before the first game of the night in your league. The subject of your email must use the convention you see on your screen. Forfeit, and then insert the location and the sport. And then in the subject, and then when you write the email itself in the body, you can just introduce yourself and just say, this is my team, we're going to be forfeiting, and give your team name, etc. Quick little email. Teams not doing those above steps will be penalized. The first offense is a disqualification from the playoffs, and the second offense is removal from the league without a refund. Okay, really quick, let's wrap up by talking about how to manage conflict. Across all sports, across all leagues, players debate calls. How are you going to manage that? Let's look at a scenario and think to yourself, how did the ref effectively handle this situation? Player: you got that call wrong. How could you call me for a charge there? Well, the other player had possession and you ran into him. That was a charge. That's bogus. Listen, I know you're frustrated, but I need to keep reffing right now. Can we check in at halftime about this? Okay. At halftime, the ref: hey, I'm Mike. Do you have a second to check in about that call? Yeah, sure. You got it wrong. The other player got in my way. Should have been a foul on him, not me. He may have been in your way, but he was stationary. His feet were set, and you initiated the contact. So I called it a charging foul. Does that make sense? Well, I don't agree, but it does make sense how you explain it. I know that's frustrating, but it is the rule. Thanks for checking in. And hey, you've played a great game so far. Keep it up. When you manage conflict as a referee, here are some best practices. Stay calm. Assume the best and acknowledge the player's perspective. Do not get into a public tug of war or lengthy debate in the moment. But you do make time for an extended debrief of calls during halftime or after the game. That's what you saw in the scenario a moment ago. Don't take it personally. And then one thing I like to keep in mind as a referee: strive for perfection, but know it's impossible. I show up to ref every night knowing in advance there's going to be a couple calls that I miss. It's inevitable. You need to make peace with that and try your best. Some lines you can use. I'll keep an eye out for that. Hey everyone, no one wants to get hurt. We're here to have fun. Let's keep it friendly. You could go up to a player and say, hey, I want to check in about blank. That was close to a foul. Keep an eye on that. You could say, hey, I'm sorry you think blank, but I saw blank. You could say, I need to focus on the game right now, but find me at halftime and I'll explain the call. It's what you saw in the scenario. And you can say things like, that was a great game, everyone. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions at all about what you saw in these slides in the presentation, reach out to your basketball coordinator. Have an awesome season and good luck, everybody.